Right. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. Maybe you can share about like some of the changes that you were in the forefront of making those changes where maybe you didn't necessarily have like the organizational acceptance as far as some of the changes that you wanted to make. So maybe you could share a little bit about your career and your background and how that journey has played out.
IT changes are hard. Rarely do people want any changes that you're kind of throwing their way. Smaller changes they're able to accept, but the days of like your operating system changing every 3 years are long gone. And I'm proud of people for, adapting so much to their mobile devices when changes come out so readily. I think that's an indication of how people are able to accept technology changes more. But when we make wholesale platform changes, that's something that people really struggle with. I always say we're getting in the way of people being able to make progress. One of the earlier ones that I went through was like taking people's physical phones away and moving them to VoIP services. And we went literally desk to desk and gave candy and, hugged people as we took away their phones, which was something they knew how to do, right? You grow up knowing how to dial the phones, and now all of a sudden you have to listen to your computer ringing. So it takes some time to get used to. And even internally, when in 2018 I'd made the decision to move our video conferencing platform away from a really rich video quality platform to Zoom. But listen, the rich quality platform we were on was on-prem. It was not easy to join. And I knew strategically we had to move to something that 90% of the business could use easily. And my team hated me for that change. But the business actually accepted that change pretty well. It wasn't until the pandemic that my team forgave me and said, we never could have lived with the on-prem platform that we had and made our way through without Zoom. But whether you're doing those kind of changes or moving from Microsoft to Google or Google to Microsoft, which happens a lot, lately, it is, believe it or not, less about the technology change and more about making sure that you're loud and you market and you're there for your business users. I often say you'll be forgiven for technology mishaps as long as the business knows what's coming. So I think over the years, over 30 years, right, of pushing IT change, what I've learned is you have to be out there loud so that people have an opportunity to freak out and say, this isn't going to work for me, and you don't know my business case. And that gives us a chance to really dig in with the business unit and figure out what nuances they have and how we can solve those nuances.
So, Jill, you hit on something that I think it happens, oh my goodness, across all groups, all functions, where we're different. I understand that we have to make this change, but this would never work for our team because we do the following. We're unique, we're different, we have special processes, we have special procedures. And it's always so interesting that everybody thinks they're so different, but then meanwhile, everybody is like actually more the same than different. I think as a follow up, is there anything that keeps you up at night? In this ever evolving world of tech, right? What trends are you currently following and what should we be cautious about?
You know, what keeps me up at night is really large strategic projects that have, just lots of tentacles. And I have several of those kind of going on right now. And it doesn't keep me up at night for any other reason except I'm excited about it. So this morning's a perfect example. I got up at 3:30 because my mind could not rest with a couple of the projects going on. And that gave me, 3 or 4 hours of really meaningful time to write down everything, get it into a program plan, et cetera, so that it made sense and I can have those discussions with the team. So what keeps me up is the excitement of change. And then when I think about trends, what I see happening, which I think I've kind of watched it over the past couple of years, there was lots of strategy storytelling about how, you don't need IT as much anymore. You can trim your staff because SaaS is here and all those kind of things. And actually, what we've seen happen is this push back to needing a consolidated place to manage and help people collaborate. If you have 20 program management tools in a company, your ability to share and help each other, is very challenging, not to mention a lot of those SaaS products are bought on credit cards. And so there's no SSO and corporate oversight. So what I'm seeing is this move to kind of come back together. One of the areas that I love the most is with our HR partners, because there's such a critical piece to the start of the identity of a human in a company. And so this connection back to our HR partners, where we're trying to come together and really build a new path forward, so that with all the changes that have taken place with SaaS, we're stitching that back together so we love each other again. Uh, and we're really trying to make sure we understand all the nuances they go through, and things that we go through, so that we can take care of the data governance properly. So that's really one of the trends that I see when I think about the things for cautiousness. And I've said this for a couple years now. I feel like I was really lucky to be at the forefront of, shuttering data centers and moving data to the cloud, and really adopting SaaS products early on, as far back as 2015, 2016. I also happened to manage a very large budget at that time. And so, what I could see operationally is these costs going up and up, and the cap costs going down. And I think we've reached that pivotal point where it's like the C-level is having a heart attack about their operational spend, which it can't be stopped, right? Because if you're hiring people and they get the complement of SaaS products, you're just adding more layers of operational cost. So I feel like what's happening finally is that, people are starting to freak out a little bit at their operational costs, and they're rethinking what they're doing. So maybe instead of 20 program management tools, companies are looking to scale down to 5 and try to make 5 work. Or leveraging tools from the suited products like Google or Microsoft. Even though it might not be ideal from a business user's perspective, trying to make those products work so they can consolidate their costs and their tooling, and their exposure, quite frankly, both to their intellectual property and their security.
Right. So, I think, just a couple of comments in regards to what you said. I love the fact of, bringing human resources into like kind of like the technical landscape, because years ago, I think what we used to experience is that every function kind of ran like a silo, and IT was always viewed as this kind of like the people in the basement, they're in the back of the building, they're
Still,
not,
still, still.
still. But I think what's happened is that there's more of a marriage to the business. And I've seen this evolution happen over the last 10 years, where IT has become more in sync with the business side. And what's great, it's like you said, human resources, when they're onboarding